Okay, it's 2 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 12 noon here in Colorado, and I want to welcome everybody to my first webinar. My name is Mark Mitchell. I'm a sales and marketing consultant for building material manufacturers and suppliers. If your sales aren't growing, that's when companies hire me to find out why and to develop a plan to help them get their sales back on a growth plan. I write a blog, a newsletter, books. I have a podcast, and I hold workshops, all to help building material manufacturers and suppliers grow their sales. And now I've added webinars, as we all like to learn differently. I could talk for hours about how to sell builders, but I realize how little time we all have available, so I'm going to keep my webinars to 60 minutes in length. If we need to go into more depth, I'll just do another webinar. As this is my first webinar, I hope you'll be patient with any technical issues. I had hoped to have 30 or 40 people attend this webinar, and we now have over 230 people from 8 different countries. I wonder what time in the morning it is for some of you. A recorded version of this webinar will be available on YouTube, and the slides will be available on SlideShare. I'll send you all a link after the webinar. I will also be sending you a survey, as I'm planning to do monthly webinars, and I'd like to see what subjects you would like to be covered. Due to the overwhelming popularity of this webinar specifically about builders, I'm thinking of adding ones about subjects like how to call on top 20 builders, how to deal with purchasing, how to manage rebates, and so forth. And I would like to get your input and your feedback. As I mentioned, I also have workshops. My next annual 2-day event is in Boulder, Colorado this April. This is for building material sales and marketing people who want to find new ways to grow their sales. I have some great guest speakers to give you a new perspective on your customers and how to reach them. You can check it out at the link below or on my website if you're interested in coming to Boulder. Today, I have a guest speaker with me, Stephen Crouch from Builder Partnership. Builder Partnerships has over 600 builder members who will build over 75,000 homes this year. I frequently tell my clients to think of Builder Partnership as a way to call on 600 builders at once. When you have fewer and fewer salespeople who are out able to actually reach builders, I find Builder Partnership is a great way to reach them. And Stephen has a lot of expertise about how to reach the mid-tier builder, who I think is a very important target for many building material manufacturers. Your takeaway, I hope, from today is that you're going to end up with several actionable strategies that you can put to use immediately. For the most part, builders are very frustrated with building material manufacturer reps and their marketing programs. This frustration comes from how unprepared and uneducated most reps are. The builder assumes that a sales call will be a waste of time when a new rep calls. I frequently have builders say, tell me this over and over again, Mark, when I get a call from a new rep from a company, my assumption is I'm gambling that maybe 50% of the time it's going to be a total waste of time because the rep may be very educated in his product line and educated how to be a salesman, but he has no idea how a home is built or how a builder operates. And so just with so what I'm trying to say here is the bar is very low in order for you to do a much better job. The builder also views most marketing programs that are designed to sell him from manufacturers as a waste of money, as they, in his opinion, are off target and aren't really aimed at getting his attention, mainly because they're not designed to help solve his problems. Now, the best way to get the most out of this webinar is not to be the old white guy. Put aside your experience and expertise for this hour and be opening to gaining a fresh perspective. Now, I can say old white guy because technically I guess I am, even though I try to act a lot crazier and younger than that. This is how I view how building materials are sold. Before I developed this infographic, people would tell me that it took them literally a year to figure out how the building material business worked. And now they can get it in 30 seconds. They normally would be hired and say, you're going to call on Home Depot, you're going to call on a distributor or a builder, and they wouldn't understand all the interrelationships of what it takes to get a product through the channel into the end user. So the important part here is to see how your products get sold and how your competitors get sold. This is also very helpful to help you figure out who is the most important decision maker in relation to whether your product is used or not. I frequently find that manufacturers are surprised by who actually has the power. The light blue words describe influencers, who are important people who are often overlooked. They can usually do you more harm than good, but they cannot be ignored. So an example here is the contractor. Contractor is a very important influencer, particularly with a builder. You may think because you have made a sale to a builder that the builder is going to, you're going to make a sale. And I've seen time and time again where a manufacturer presents a new product to a builder. The builder is really enthused about the product and fully intends to use it, then calls in his installing contractor, shows him the new product, and the contractor says something like, well, I'm going to have to charge you more, even if the product takes less labor. And the builder will just give up and say, I can't argue with him, and move away. So the contractor, for example, is very, very important influencer. You need to make sure that they're on board with the product, or you could face a failure there in terms of making a sale. Another example, if you sell an aesthetic product, could be the interior designer that the builder uses for their model homes, or they all have some sort of interior design capability, whether it's a larger one on their staff or it's an independent one that they use. But if you have an idea, like you want to get them to upgrade their molding, their cabinets, their exterior doors, countertops, flooring, anything aesthetic, the builder is probably going to ask the opinion of their interior designer, and that person, once again, can also kill the deal. You can also look at that person as an advocate for you, that perhaps in some cases you may want to identify who the builder's designer is and call on them first and have them go into the builder saying that we should make these changes. Now the market, key thing to keep in mind is the market is controlled by the channel. The market is not controlled by the home buyer, the homeowner. It's controlled by the channel for the most part. Yes, if you're selling a multi-million-dollar home, the homeowner and or their architect can have a lot to say. But for the most homes that are built today, the homeowner has really little to say about what specific product gets installed. The builder has a way that he likes to do things and products he likes to use. So the product sale is controlled by the channel. And the next issue to keep in mind, very important, is the channel is really not looking for a better performing product. So you may have a product that lasts longer. You may have a product that saves energy, reduces noise, opens easier, whatever that benefit to the end user is, that really is not that important to the builder. What's important to the builder is, how is your product going to help me solve my problem? And the problem there can be many different problems, which we will discuss. So you want to keep in mind, once again, that your product sale is controlled by the channel, that they don't want necessarily better performing products. What they do want is solutions to their problems. So, pardon me, I got a little cold cough. A typical process that I see is building material manufacturers say, oh my gosh, we have a new product. It's better. Look, here are the benefits. I'm going to go communicate that to the builder, and they don't understand why the builder doesn't buy. And how I like to look at it is it's a trade-off. The builder looks and says, what are the perceived benefits to me? And he weighs those against what's the cost and risk and hassle of change. If a builder goes to change something, it isn't like you and I going to the store and buying toothpaste, a different brand. There's no cost to change. There's tremendous cost with a builder today to change. So he looks and says, I have a cost, I have a hassle, and I have some risk of change. So he's looking at those. So when you're thinking about your presentation to a builder, you need to really think hard about those issues. Like, what are his costs to change? What is the risk? And what is the hassle? And how can you help overcome or reduce any of those so that he's more likely to make the change? So what the builder wants is, number one, he wants solutions to problems. So the first thing is you need to be aware of what are his problems. And many times you can find those just by asking him. The second one is builders want knowledge. If you think about how many individual components go into a house, the builder has a working knowledge of all of them, but he's not an expert in any of them. So he wants to know, if you are selling him something that goes around design, then he wants to know more about what are trends in design. He doesn't want his houses to be outdated. If you have something about what's going on with energy codes or people's desire, home buyers' desire to save energy or have a more sustainable home, those are all pieces of knowledge that he welcomes. He looks at the manufacturer as a source of knowledge, not just about your company and your product, but about your category. The builder also, at least the sharp builder, is looking for a competitive, not the lowest price. And I hear this time and time again when I survey builders. They will say, I'm looking for solutions to problems. I'm looking for the builder salesperson, the salesperson, to be a knowledge leader, to be an expert in their category. And they'll say, Mark, be sure and tell the manufacturer, I'm not looking for the lowest price. I'm looking for a competitive price. I realize when I just go for the lowest price, I will pay a penalty. It's either in product quality or callbacks or service. There is something that will be a problem. So price alone won't do it. And then finally, builders rely on, that last, if you want to call it that last mile. How does your product get to the job site? There's local dealers, suppliers that they depend on. So they're going to look at the manufacturer and say, who carries your product in this area where I'm building? And that is very important. It's ideally somebody they already do business with and someone that they have a good feeling about. They can't have people in which I've seen, they say, I don't do business with that person. We've had problems with them before. I like your product, but unless you have a different source for me, I'm not interested. So those are the four things the builder wants from my years of experience and just constantly talking with builders. Builder frustrations, I touched upon this a little bit earlier. Their number one frustration is uneducated salespeople. And it doesn't mean, once again, they aren't smart people, that they don't know how to sell and they don't know about their product, but they don't understand about the builder, the building industry, or the particular builder. So they immediately start to sell before they stop and ask questions and listen to then understand where this builder's coming from and how their product may be able to help this builder. The next real pet peeve with builders, just a big source of frustration, is unexpected price increases. It's almost like there's some MBA sitting in headquarters with a spreadsheet who figures out he or she can raise prices and announces that day a price increase. And it comes, out of the blue to the builder, and the builder all of a sudden feels like, you're really not my partner. We don't really have a relationship. This is all about you. Because if the builder signs a contract for a $300,000 home and he gets a price increase of $200 on a product, he can't go back to the home buyer and say, oh, the home just went up $200. That comes out of his pocket. So a thing a manufacturer could really go a long way with the builder is by giving them as much advance notice on price increases as possible. They know you need to make money. They expect prices to go up. They just the way that price increases are handled very cavalierly just leaves a bad taste in the with the builder. And the next area is the website not up to date or useful. So this can be a manufacturer or a dealer's website is being not up to date or useful. When I say not up to date, they will frequently tell me, builder will tell me, I have a line of faucets that we use in all our homes. I will say to the home buyer, go to this faucet company's website and pick out the faucet you would like. They come back and they've picked out a faucet. I then go to place an order and I'm told it's been discontinued, yet it's still on the website. So just a simple thing of making sure that the website is up to date with what your actual product line is. And then the other one that has started to pop up in the last year, it's actually hit me kind of funny, and then I read a McKinsey study that reaffirmed this, in which I've had contractors, dealers, and builders all say to me, you know, Mark, I work real hard all day. I don't have time. I'm out on job sites. I'm dealing with problems, doing different things. I then go home, and then toward the end of the evening, I literally want to sit there in my pajamas on my lazy boy chair, and I want to do some business. And I realize I can't pick up the phone and talk to people. I want to go on a manufacturer or supplier's website, and I want to be able to get my questions answered. Maybe I want to place an order. Maybe I want to see if a window can be made 2 inches wider. Maybe I just want to get a quote. Maybe I want to see when something's going to be delivered. And so there's a term here, it's like the consumerization of builder buying. So they don't understand why they can go online to Amazon and other things in their personal life and just do their business online without having to talk to anybody. And they don't understand why they can't do that with building material manufacturers or suppliers. 2 companies that have come up frequently that I hear do a good job. One is Marvin Windows, and the other is ABC Supply. Are both ones that I've heard customers talk about how they put their websites above their competitors. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. A simple thing is to keep your website up to date. A bigger investment is to get your website to be as friendly to the builder as the Amazon website is, for example. Now, the next thing, people will do this with, I see them do it with builders and with architects. And they'll say, we're going to start calling on builders or architects. And they just literally start, you know, any builder's a builder, any architect's an architect. And I'm all about focus. And so one of the first things I would do is to say, take a look at your product and which type of builder is it most likely to be a good fit for. So is it a top 50 builder? Is it a medium-sized builder, a smaller builder? Is it a builder that builds expensive custom homes? Is it a builder that builds first-time buyer homes or tract homes? Is it an on-your-lot builder? Is it multifamily, green? You know, this just keeps going on and on and on as to the types of way you can target a builder. Now, there's 3 types of sales to a home builder. Today, we're only going to talk about 2 of them. The first one is to convert from a comparable product, and the second is to upgrade. We don't have enough time to talk about in this. Also talk about if you were selling an entirely new product. Entirely new product could be the first time anybody called on a builder and said there's this thing called a solar panel, or it could be something as you're selling a deck and the builder does not use decks. If you're selling decks and the builder is already using decks from somebody else, that's converting from a comparable product. Perhaps if you're selling a composite deck and he's using wood decks, then this would be an upgrade. So converting from a comparable product is number one, is cost alone won't do it. The builder has a cost to change. You want to focus on the purchasing department, and you want to find their pain point. You know, there is something they wish their current supplier was doing differently or could do better, no matter how happy. You know, my wife loves me like crazy, but I know she could tell you 10 things that, you know, you could identify as a pain point, okay? And then finally, converting from a comparable product, your source of supply is critical. They may like your competitors as a manufacturer, your competitor's product, but may not like the local supplier as much as your local supplier. So those are key ways when you're converting from a comparable product. Now, when you're upgrading involves a trade-off. So if I'm a builder building a $300,000 home and you have this product that's $1,000 more, I cannot now make it be a $301,000 product. It still needs to be a $300,000 home. And the way I'm going to do that is I've got to find $1,000 of other products to take out of the home so that I can put yours in. So they may love your product, but they're sitting there looking at that $300,000 price point. So if you're really sharp, what you are doing is keeping up on trends in home design, and you're looking to be able to help them find the money. Perhaps granite countertops are no longer cool, or fireplaces, or there's places where builders are spending money, and perhaps you can show them places where they would be smart to cut money to find money for your product. If you're doing an upgrade, you should focus on sales and marketing. That's who's most likely going to look and say, if we have this better product, we'll differentiate us and sell more homes. You also want to focus on the value of your brand. So if you sell a brand name, like if you're a Pella window and the builder uses a no brand name window, then you want to have data to show what happens with a brand, well-known brand like yours. Tell them about how your upgrading will differentiate the builder from the builder down the street. The other problem with upgrading, a big problem, is they may say, oh, that's great, we'll put you on the option list. And you may be number 92 on the option list, and the home buyer runs out of money at option 15. That's why it's critical for sales training. So the builder salespeople understand your product and like your product and recommend your product if it's on the upgrade list. If you have a performance product, you have a challenge, and that is the builder many times will say, hey, Mark, if they can't see it, it doesn't matter. I just have to warranty the home for a year. No one's asking for it. So the challenge, if you're selling things like a moisture barrier or insulation, things that you can't see, is you need to find ways to make the invisible visible. Now, to go into a builder, there are people think that the only door into a builder many times is purchasing, but there's actually 3 ways into a builder. There's construction management, and sales and marketing, as well as purchasing. Now, purchasing is the gatekeeper, and you want to always go through him to get to the other departments, because you don't want to get on the wrong side of purchasing. But if we take a look at purchasing, certainly he's the gatekeeper, but I look at purchasing as a person with a shopping list. And on that shopping list isn't something like more expensive windows, isn't something like decks, if that builder doesn't use decks. So in that case, you want to get on the shopping list if you're trying to do an upgrade or introduce a new product. Purchasing, one of the best ways is to fix a problem with his current supplier. He always, no matter if he buys Delta faucets and he's happy with the Delta supplier, there's something that he wishes that they did differently or better. You need to find that out. It could perhaps be better delivery or distribution process. It could be advance notice of price increases. Many things like that. There's always something that he wishes could be better. Now, the ideal time to call on this person is when they're having a problem or frustration with the manufacturer or local supplier. Now, that takes a good relationship and patience to be there when that happens, but I think that you can you can also get them to switch before that problem happens if you're able to identify what they're looking for and be able to deliver that. Sales and marketing, you need to show them what the customer wants, what are new trends, help them differentiate their homes by explaining the value of your brand. What they want is like, show us how using your product will help us sell more homes at better margins. You talk to any sales and marketing person and they will tell you the 2 or 3 competitors that they face every day in their market. And if they lose a sale, they lose it to one of those builders. If you can show how your product differentiates them from those other builders, they will be very interested in listening to you. And then they will become your champion and walk down to purchasing and say, we want to make this change. Construction management, they're looking for things that are faster and easier to install, particularly with today's labor shortage. If you have a product that can be installed by less qualified labor, that will be of interest to them. They're also looking for better lead times and availability. They're looking for fewer callbacks. If they're having a problem with callbacks, that comes out of, they have to go fix those. That costs them. And then another big one is there's, depending on your product, but if you're, for example, in the energy insulation area, codes are constantly changing and they can't keep up with these. So they look to the manufacturer to come in and help them understand changes in codes and how using your product can help them meet the new code. Now, another area that I want you to look at is customer service. I go into a builder or contractor, dealer, any of them, and whenever I'm out on the field for a client, I will say, tell me your top 3 suppliers, manufacturers, whoever, and they'll rattle them off, and I'll say why, and they'll say because their customer service, they have my back. I can't imagine switching to another person, whatever price they offered me. So customer service is of growing and growing importance. No matter how good a customer service you have today, if you think that you have 5-star customer service, I invite you to take it even to the next level. For example, here's a hotel in the Middle East that is the world's only 7-star hotel. And the beauty of this now is everyone who works at that hotel realizes they have to deliver 7-star service. So take a look at your customer service as a way to improve. Well, it's not going to get you new builders as much as it's going to keep builders with you. So the objective should be, if I ask one of your customers should say, no one cares more about my success than your company's name goes right there. And every one of your employees should have this as their single objective that they should think about when a customer, whenever I'm doing something to help a customer, my goal is that they would say, no one cares more about my success than your company. Another thing, just to keep up with things, is to keep refreshing your knowledge base. And there's 3 books I invite you to take a look at. Behind Your Back is a book by Bradley Hartman, who is an ex-purchasing person from Centex. Bradley is a great book. He's the perspective of what does the purchasing agent say behind your back after you've left. It's an easy, fun read. It's not available, I don't believe, on Amazon. You have to go Behind Your Back book on Google and you'll find it. Then there's my book, Building Material Channel Marketing, which is available on Amazon. And then a new book that I've co-authored with Carlos Quintero from Sales Effectiveness on how to become a building industry sales rainmaker. And that will be available the end of January. So there's some good new knowledge base for you to use. So the keys to builder sales are knowledge of the building industry, your target builder segment, of this particular builder, of your product category, and how the builder sales process that Stephen's going to go through in a minute. And then the importance of influencers, the 3 doors to builder sales, having a competitive, not the lowest price, and having a great local supplier. Now I'm going to turn it over to Stephen, who's going to talk to us more about mid-tier builders.
All right, Mark, and bear with me while I change my screen here. So I hope everybody can see my screen now. Should be switching over here shortly. All right, there we go. All right, thanks a lot, Mark. Lots of great information there, and if this is the first time that you've been exposed to Mark Mitchell and Wizard Marketing, I invite you to pay close attention. Definitely log into, get his newsletter, and listen to what he has to say. It definitely has some very interesting perspectives and some very valuable perspectives on working with for manufacturers working with builders. What I wanted to do is bring some of the same information, bring from a different perspective. I have my background is working with manufacturers. I've done everything internally within a manufacturer, and then also externally working with our channel, with channel partners, and then also in a national accounts role. So understanding the value proposition to contractors, the value in installers and distributors and retail, value proposition to builders, and some of the differences there. Currently, I'm with Builder Partnerships, and as Builder Partnerships, we're a membership organization. We have builders and manufacturer members. We really help connect the two different segments together. One of the area that we really focus on is what we refer to as the mid-tier builder segment, and I think slides will change here slowly, but that mid-tier builder segment is important. It was always important to me when I was at a manufacturer, because it was the segment that was going to drive the most value for us as a manufacturer, but also for our installers, and that was very important. Creating the value and the loyalty with our installer network was extremely important. Part of the reason that mid-tier builders are so bring that value, despite everything that's happened with the national builders, and they've seen tremendous amount of growth recently. This mid-tier builder, really defined between 50 and 1,000 homes per year, is the largest segment of builders. It's the largest category, roughly 45 to 50% of all the homes built by these builders. They are the driver of innovation. They are the ones that are going to be looking for that way to differentiate themselves, generally against each other, or also against the national builders. And it's easier for them to do that because, and I'll skip down to the bottom point here, there are fewer decision makers in a company. So when they see opportunities, they can go after those opportunities quickly. They are oftentimes the strong local brand in a market. And as I mentioned, they're very important customers for your trades. Your trade partners in a market have direct relationships with not necessarily the purchasing manager at that builder, but sometimes the owner, the president, the operations team. So it's very broad. What I want to take away, so anyway, that mid-tier builder is really the segment that we focus on, and also the segment that, just to give some thought to and know that that's where I'm coming from in my perspective with some of the input over the next few minutes. The takeaway that I really want you to have from these next few slides is just hopefully you find some suggestions that are going to be valuable to you as you improve the effectiveness of your builder-focused sales efforts in 2016. And where I want to start is kind of at the beginning of the process. And this doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're putting in a new process. If you have a builder-focused sales process already in place, making sure the expectations, everybody has an understanding of the expectations. Selling to builders is different than selling to installers, selling to distributors. A lot of times, if it's similar to something, it can be similar to selling to retail, where you have a very long sale process. But the builder, as Mark was really talking about, has a lot invested in the decisions that they make with manufacturers, and there are a lot of considerations that they have to give to making a change. So it does take some time to build that trust, build that relationship, make sure that you're working your product into the next development. It becomes a lot of upfront investment, and making sure that the team understands what those expectations are, and really understands what success looks like in working with builders is a very important aspect to having a successful builder-focused sales program. The best thing is that when you win with a builder, it may be hard to win, it may take time to win, but it's hard to lose and takes time to lose. I'm not saying that means that you don't have to focus on the bulletproof guy there and focus on delivering strong customer service, but it means that it is worth the upfront investment. And slides will change here in a second, but the organization and training aspect is probably where, in my experience of putting builder initiatives together or working with manufacturers that have builder initiatives that necessarily don't get as far off the ground as they would like, really comes around, really breaks down at the beginning before anybody even ever calls on a builder. It breaks down are the organization and training. The place that the programs or the initiatives that I really see that don't work is when a manufacturer believes they have put a builder-focused sales strategy in place because what they've done is they've identified now a builder-focused salesperson, but they haven't involved the entire team and really trained the entire team on what is their role in supporting that person. When you have a national accounts manager, when you have a regional builder salesperson that's not only calling on national accounts but calling on the regional builders, they have to have regular dialogue. They have to coordinate their activities with the rest of the sales team so that when they are walking into a builder, they're really pulling that entire sales team with them. And the other thing too is that you can't just take somebody from calling on contractors and distributors and dealers and now say, okay, tomorrow you're going to start calling on builders. It really takes, it's not that the product's different. It's not that you need to talk about the product differently, but the needs of the builder are different than the channel partners. As Mark really touched on, the builder wants to know, how are you going to help me make more money? How are you, and that comes in a bunch of different ways. Can be, how are you going to help me save costs? How are you going to help me get the products installed better, more quickly, the right way the first time so I don't have warranty costs, I don't have callbacks, I don't have issues with code officials? Those are the things that the builders are focused on and really want to understand. Walking in and right off the bat, unless you know in a specific instance that they're having a very bad quality situation with another manufacturer, digging into your manufacturing process and some of those other things that might be a little bit more interesting, even the contractors, are digging into your contractor-focused marketing initiatives are not the things that the builder is going to be most focused on. So once you get to the process of selling, creating opportunities is really the key. As we've been talking about for the last 30-40 minutes, defining the target builder segment is important. Mark talked about the different demographics, the different types of builders that are out there. Understanding which products you're focusing on different segments and who are the builders that you're going to have the best shot with, and so who do you really want to focus your efforts with. Coordinating with marketing so that you're doing you're not necessarily making a cold call on a builder and then informing them of your product, but you're actually building that relationship with the builder through your content marketing, through the message that you're putting out there, and you're feeding them information about you before you've even ever walked in their office. And so making sure that your list of targets is already on marketing's list and they're already out there paving that way and making it easier for you. Identifying the targets in that segment, coming up with a reliable source of information, of context, so that not only do you know that you want to go after a move-up home builder in the Midwest, but now how do you find the names of all those Midwest move-up home builders in the Midwest that are going to really want your product? And so how do you also leverage other relationships in the market that you have to be able to help to open the door? Doing the research, understanding who's going to find your product most advantageous, which builders are selling to the customers and the home buyers that are going to find your product most beneficial, and then being patiently persistent. It does take some time. As Mark mentioned, there's a shopping list. Purchasing manager definitely has a shopping list. There is sometimes some products aren't on the shopping list just yet. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not using them. It means that it's not an issue. It's not high on the list just yet. And part of the job in sales and marketing is to get it on the list, provide them the reason to put it on the list, work with those other contacts at the builder to make sure that they know about your product and they know why they need your product. And so it takes some time to work to get them on the list, move up the list, get them to the point where they're purchasing. When you're selling, there's one rule that I would say when you're selling and you have that first sales call with a builder. It is a sales call. It's not an information session. It should be a sales call and as part of a sales call, you should know about the builder already. You should know about their competitors. You should know about what they're doing. Visit their job sites. Talk to their salespeople. Know who their competition are. Obviously, know your competition. Know who the installers are that your competition is using. Know who the installers are of your products that the builders are using. Know what they're doing. Understand. Look underneath the surface and see what are their issues. Where do they need help? And probably last but definitely not least, before you're a vendor, become a resource. If you're a resource, you will become a vendor. Provide them with information, provide them with feedback, provide them with technical expertise on why they're having the problem that they're having. All of these are just ways to get in there, become their go-to person and for information, and you'll become their go-to person for products. The other thing is that a lot of times we like to think about selling as if I have the right product, if I have the right information, if I put it all out there, that people will just want my product because it's best. But selling is about relationships. It is personal. It is where the rubber meets the road. It's the one-on-one contact that a builder has, that a manufacturer has with their end user customer. The credibility matters when you walk into their office. They do talk, especially the regional builders. They are part of HBAs locally. If they don't already know who you are before they walk in the office, after you've given them your business card, they will ask questions about you from other builders that they know. When you say you're going to follow up. That matters. That's very, very important. When you say you're going to do something, do it. And utmost, show you care. Have a little bit, build that personal relationship with the salesperson. This is a place that when Mark brought up Behind Your Back and brought up the book from Bradley Hartman, he touches on a ton of great opportunities, great ideas, great ways that you can go in there and ways that you can show that you care and the importance of doing what you say you're going to do. Once again, kind of going back to, for the individual salesperson, not necessarily the organization, it's important for the organization as well, but understand what successful looks like. When you're making that individual sales call on that builder, understand what you're really going in there and trying to achieve. What is the opportunity? How many homes do you know that the builder is building? How many different developments are they in? What kind of homes do they build in different developments? Are they a builder that builds from across a wide spectrum of price points and home styles? And so you're really only going to be focused on a segment of those homes with your product. Be realistic about what you're going to come out of that engagement with, out of that meeting, out of that sales relationship with at the beginning, and where you want to go over time. And know the difference between, for you and your product personally, what's the benefit of having a small standard product use and commitment in maybe one development versus being an option across all of their developments. Sometimes it maybe an option sounds good because you're an option on several hundred homes versus being a standard on 30 or 40 homes for the next year. But being the standard in a lot of cases will give you the foot in the door to grow that business across other developments as they grow. And the other thing, be prepared to negotiate. Walk in there. You don't know as much as research as you've done and you need to do about the builder. There is still information that you're going to gain and understanding of the builder that you're going to gain. And so be willing to negotiate and learn more about what their needs are and be able to bring some of that value. And when you're negotiating, I'm not talking about negotiating on the size of your rebate. or the size of your dollar incentive or something else. There are many, many, many ways of negotiating, many places that a manufacturer can bring value to a builder. And here are just a few of the key ways. And this is how, as Mark mentioned, you bridge the gap between being the lowest price and being the best price, or the most competitive price in the industry. Some of the key ways are making sure that you have product supply, making sure that are giving them guaranteed product supply. Not an issue today in most cases because of there's oversupply, but there are some niche products out there. Maybe you offer one, and making sure that it's available and that you're going to commit to it being available. Extending warranties if that's important. Providing technical support, design support. It could be CAD drawings. It could be 3D CAD drawings if the builder is implementing 3D CAD. Sales training, model home benefits, design center displays, product drawings or other information, price notifications. As Mark mentioned, builder is committing 6 months ahead of time before they're going to close on a home, and possibly 6 months ahead of time before they're going to use your product. Showing that you understand that builder's process, and showing that you're going to adjust your process to adapt to theirs and their reality is important to them. Providing access to your research facility and your technical engineers, especially in the case of those code changes and when things are changing. And then also incentive dollar amounts. Those do play a role, but the point is they're not the only one, and they're not necessarily what really bridges the gap between lowest and most competitive or best price. One of the other final key points is when you're in there and you're talking to a builder and you're getting into the closing stages of the negotiation, make yes easy. Make it know where the potential objections are going to come from. If you know that they're using an installer that's different than your installer, know how you're going to help them make that transition. Know why there shouldn't be any real concern or fear or of moving from one installer to another. Really help promote your installer as well as your product. And that's where some of that coordination with your sales, with the rest of your sales team, is most important. Making sure your product is available. Being upfront about it. If there's certain types of products in your product line that aren't going to be available, making sure that that's known already so that that's off the table. Support their product conversion. One of the things that we work with that we've looked at is in kind of in another area of what we do with builder partnerships and training and educating builders on how to run their business. We educate them on the soft costs of making a product conversion and the 17 to 20 different things that they have to do in their system to convert a product. Showing them, helping them make that product conversion, whether it's design centers, model homes in their system, in their designs, whatever. Help the builder promote your product. When they make a decision, when they make a change, at least be as good as the competitor that you're swapping out, and be able to show them that you're going to help them take advantage of your marketing, of your opportunities, of the qualities of your product, and also helping them train their builder sales team, which is one of the most critical points in terms of how it may be their builder sales team may have a 15-second, it might be a 15-second introduction of this is what we do in this area. But making sure the builder sales team is ready for a question that's going to come back to them. So finally, once you've won the business, once you've engaged with a builder, you have that engagement, the process isn't over. In a lot of cases, the process has just begun. Say a builder-focused sales plan strategy is an ongoing process for a manufacturer, and it should be treated as such. One of the biggest challenges that manufacturers have with builder-focused sales strategy is the fact that it's not based on a transaction that you can find in your accounting system somewhere. It doesn't, your system and your processes internally a lot of times will drive what you focus on and drive as a manufacturer and drive what you do, because there are great reports that come out of your system that drive those actions. But it needs to be a discipline that you build to really have an effective builder-focused strategy. You need to have the assigned responsibilities. You have to be able to track progress and get that feedback, know where the sources of data are going to come from for that feedback. Have an operational rhythm, whether it's monthly probably best, where you're going to repeatedly review Who are the builders that you're working with? What is the target? What is the role of everybody in your organization to support that builder? Where is customer service coming into play? The technical team coming into play, the field sales team coming into play versus the role of the builder salesperson. And manage those relationships. Have those touch points, circle back, make sure that they know that once they've decided to use your product, you still care about them as much as you did when you were negotiating and discussing using your product with them. So in summary, just a couple of key points. Know your target builder segment, involve the entire team, have a builder-focused sales process, research before you go into a builder sales call, and make sure you follow up with that builder and do what you say you're going to do. That's it, Mark. I can go ahead and I'm not sure what I need to do to pass it back to you. I think you can just take the screen and we can open it up for questions.
So just I wanted to, I don't know if Stephen, am I there?
You were here.
Good. So I just want to kind of reiterate what Steve and I have both tried to share, the keys to success with growing your builder sales. The single most important thing is knowledge. And that's knowledge, number one, of the building industry. Not just like what was last month's housing starts, but more detailed information. What's going on in the building industry? If you're a local territory rep, what is going on in the state of Ohio or wherever you are? What's going on with builders there? Labor shortages, for example, is a challenge for builders. What are their other ones? To be on top of that and really understand it. When you go to the builder show, if you can get away from the booth, go sit in some of the seminars. So you really are building your knowledge of the building industry overall, and the builder looks at you as someone that they can, they can sit and have an intelligent discussion with. You should know about your target builder segment. If it's a top 20 builder, if it's a very green builder, a high-end builder, have a lot of knowledge there and keep learning more. Then you need to know about the particular builder that's your customer or your prospect, and that includes knowing about his business, how many homes did he build last year, did he reach his goals, how many is he planning to build this year, what does he see as biggest challenges to growth, who are his competitors, and then you need to know about your product category. So if you sell lighting, you should know what's going on in the world of lighting. Is a brushed nickel no longer popular, or more contemporary designs? You should know. You should be the source of information for the builder. Like, I'm going to call Jim because I've got some questions about lighting, and he knows more about lighting than anybody else I know. That should be you. And then, as Stephen went through, you really need to have a builder sales process. It's not just we have a rep who calls on builders, go get them. It needs to be much more integrated than that to be successful. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the importance of influencers. Keep in mind that you can go and make a sale, but other people can undo that sale for you. Whether it's the contractor, I mentioned interior designers, it can even be other people within the builder organization. It can be powerful influencers that can undo all of your hard work. And then keep in mind that it's not just, while purchasing is the gatekeeper, that there are three ways into a builder. There's construction management, there's the purchasing area, and there's sales and marketing. And then the next one is that you need a competitive but not the lowest price. Now, doesn't mean he's not going to negotiate on price, but he's looking for you to basically be comparable to your competitors. And then the importance of your local supplier. And if you're a dealer, how important you are within this whole equation. And that is really about customer service and having the builder be have a great relationship with your local source of supply. So it all kind of wraps up, that you and your whole team should have this goal of having the builder say, no one cares more about my success than the name of your company. It just, to me, it's about that simple. And I also just wanted to take a last moment, and remind you about my upcoming summit in April in Boulder. And if you're interested, I encourage you to come or send somebody from your organization. I have one company sending 12 people this year, and 2 other companies that have come 3 times. So there's always new content, and it always challenges their perspective on what it takes to grow. So we're going to be done here a couple minutes early. I don't know if you can see the Q&A function, but if anybody has any questions, you can type them in, or you could email them to me at mark@seethewizard.com. And Stephen and I will take this last couple of minutes and try to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mark. And two, if you are in a position, where builder partnerships and where I can help you, if you're interested or have any questions, especially around the builder focused sales process, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. I will pass out contact information. And the other place is builder partnerships. What we do is, when it comes to really identifying those target builders and being able to connect with them, that's what that's our role, is for you to leverage us, use us, leverage our relationships to be able to connect with those builders, leverage the resources that we have, and let us help you feed those builders into your sales process.
Stephen, can you see if there's any questions typed in?
Yeah, I think we did such a great job, Mark, that we answered everybody's questions. So I'm not.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and please feel free to reach out to Steve and I if you have other questions.
Oh, wait. Oh. Advice on making your non-visible product visible. You want to touch on that, Mark? I say, Austin did, one of the things that we did in my past experience, I was in the insulation business. I'd say, Mark touched on this. Very difficult product to go ahead and make visible. Very technical product, but really when you're selling in your design center and selling in a model home, the best way to do it is, and you can see a number of different builders that do this well, they build displays that talk about what's behind the walls. They may put a picture frame in there that shows what's behind the wall and does that in kind of a neat way. If it's something, opening up an attic or something to make that, making it a safe place for builders to go, or for home buyers to walk in and check out. But doing some way to make that visible. The one thing that you can't really rely on is the builder salesperson to carry that torch for you. There's a lot of turnover, obviously, there, and sometimes it can be pretty technical, and it's not necessarily really their forte in a lot of cases. So working with the builder to make that visible, and bring that to light. And if there are other specific questions, feel free to contact me directly.
So I just follow up on that answer about how to make these invisible visible. 2 ways that I've approached it. One is to point out to the builder the risk that maybe he faces by not considering the change. For example, there's a huge interest today in moisture control. A lot of concern about moisture, about mold and so forth. And even if it's out of the warranty period when the builder thinks the problem is going to rise, now with the advent of social media, people get on and will really, can ruin the builder's relationship. So one is talking about the risk that the builder potentially faces. That is something that we'll say makes it visible in his mind, I find. And the second one is to what Stephen talked about, was doing things like wall cutaways and so forth for the model home, the sales office, that make it more visible. Because I'm always telling builders, that they should be focusing on the details of how their home is built. And details are small things. So it may be something that's invisible within the wall, for example, that's a detail about attention to detail this builder takes in order to build a better home. And then the other area is online. You should have, if you think about what is a home buyer typing into Google when they're worried about something that deals with your product or what it delivers, you should have a blog or content on your website that answers that question and that pops up when someone types it into Google, that literally says to them, when you're looking for your new home, be sure and ask the builder if he does whatever, or if he has this product. Here are 3 problems if you're with your new home if you don't have this. That type of information can also help. So I hope we've helped you with that question. Any other questions, Stephen?
There's a couple more. So KB, what are the resources available to learn who are the mid-tier builders in a given market? I'm going to say that builder partnerships is definitely one of those resources. In addition to our 635 builders, we have relationships with another 500 builders as well. So we can help you identify and also connect with some of those builders. 1,200 builders isn't completely exclusive to the mid-tier builder. There are other resources. Probably one that's a little bit more, that might be a complete data resource, would be someone like Metro Studies has a large list that you can look at all the builders. It's really more focused on the number of permits pulled in a particular market, and that's Metro Studies is associated with Builder Magazine. And then Mark, you can touch on that one. There's also another one from Gil, who are you going to touch on driving traffic to the booth at IBS?
We ran out of time, and if this is from the Gil that I know in Cincinnati, Gil, I will send that to you. I will send that directly to you.
I think my suggestion on that though is letting people know that you're going to be there, letting people know what you're going to be talking about, leveraging any other any sort of, just like cross marketing in a retail outlet, making sure that people are, you're driving traffic from different locations if you have other resources and ways to do that. And, Gil, we can help you out with that as well, if you'd like.
It looks like that's all the questions we have.
That's it for now.
Okay.
So
well, we're only 2 minutes over, so thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to send you a survey looking for suggestions how to make these better, as well as future subjects that you would like to be covered. Have a great day.
Thank you.